The great crystal towers of Dominax reached toward the purple sky. Inside the tallest tower, the Hegemony Council sat around a floating table made of pure energy. Chancellor Vorth, a tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms, looked at the holographic reports floating in front of him. "Next item," he said in a bored voice. "Sector 7749 Delta, the human worlds." The other council members barely looked up. Humans were not interesting. They were weak. They had only 3 small colonies and a few mining stations. Their ships were old and slow. Most aliens in the galaxy thought of humans as easy targets. Captain Wu Jin guided his cargo ship New Soul through the darkness of space. The ship's hull had black marks from laser burns. Pirates had attacked him again near Jupiter. They took most of his medical supplies that were meant for the Mars colony. "Stupid humans," the pirate leader had laughed. "You people are so weak. No wonder everyone picks on you." Wu Jin said nothing. He just watched them take 80% of his cargo. The sick people on Mars would have to wait longer for their medicine. This happened all the time to human ships. Back on Earth, Lieutenant, Hana sat in front of dozens of computer screens in the defense center. The numbers made her sad. Humanity had only 47 patrol ships in total. 3 space stations protected Earth. The biggest human warship was the old battlecruiser Incheon. Even that ship would be considered small by other alien races. How? Are we supposed to protect 12 billion people with this? Hana asked herself. Admiral Sangwoo appeared on the main screen. He was calling from Luna Base on Earth's moon. His face looked tired and worried. Behind him, other officers worked at their stations. "Citizens of Earth," Admiral Sangwoo began. "I have bad news. The Hegemony wants more tribute from us. They want our rare metals. They want our medical research data. And now they want 50,000 of our people to work in their labor camps." The Earth Assembly meeting erupted in angry shouts. Representative Yuna from the Titan colony stood up. Her face was red with anger. "We cannot keep giving them everything they want," she shouted. "Our people are dying in their work camps. When will this end?" Admiral Sangwoo held up his hand for quiet. "I understand your anger, but we must face reality. Our entire fleet could not defeat even one of their big warships. If we fight them, they will destroy every human world." The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. The Hegemony had thousands of massive ships. Each one had enough firepower to burn entire planets. Humans had nothing that could stop them. "We must be patient," Admiral Sangwoo continued. "We must survive. Maybe someday we will be strong enough to stand up to them." After the meeting ended, Captain Wu Jin sent a coded message to an empty part of the asteroid belt. To anyone watching, it looked like random static. But the message was simple. Package delivery interrupted again. The customers are getting impatient. Far away in space, someone received that message. The Hegemony had ruled the galaxy for 300 years. They conquered weak races and made them slaves. They took whatever they wanted from any world. No one could stop them because their fleets were too powerful. Humans had been paying tribute for 60 years. Every month they gave the Hegemony metals, food, technology, and people. The aliens treated humans like pets that sometimes gave them useful things. "The humans are pathetic," Chancellor Vorth told his advisors. "They have no real weapons. Their ships are barely spaceworthy. They should be grateful we let them live at all." His military advisor, General Krex, nodded. "My lord, our intelligence reports confirm they have no hidden fleets, no secret weapons. What you see is all they have." "Good," Chancellor Vorth said. "Keep monitoring them. If they ever become a threat, we will crush them completely." On Earth, families said goodbye to their sons and daughters who were being taken to Hegemony work camps. Many of these people would never come home. The aliens worked them until they died. Captain Wu Jin watched another group of young humans board a Hegemony transport ship. His hands made fists, but he could do nothing. If humans tried to fight, the aliens would kill everyone on Earth. Someday, he whispered to himself, someday this will end. He did not know how right he was. Deep in the asteroid belt, automated systems recorded his message. Computers that had waited decades for the right signal began to wake up. Hidden facilities, started drawing power from sources that should not exist. The masquerade was almost over. Lieutenant Hana looked at her screens one more time before going home. The numbers had not changed. 47 ships, 3 space stations, 1 aging battlecruiser. Against the might of the hegemony, humans had nothing, or so it seemed. In the deepest vaults beneath the moon's surface, Dr. Insu looked at very different numbers. Numbers that would terrify the hegemony if they knew they existed. Numbers that represented humanity's greatest secret. But that secret would have to wait. The time was not yet right. Chancellor Vorth closed the human file and moved on to other business. In his mind, humans were just another weak race paying tribute. They would never be anything more. He had no idea that somewhere in the darkness of space, ships larger than anything he could imagine were beginning to stir. Ships that had waited patiently for 60 years. Ships that belonged to humanity. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were capable of. The galaxy was very, very wrong. Admiral Sangwoo finished his reports and prepared to go to sleep. Tomorrow would bring more demands from the hegemony, more tribute to pay, more people to send away. But tonight, he allowed himself a small smile. Because he knew something the rest of humanity did not know. Something the hegemony definitely did not know. The sheep would not be sheep forever. Captain Wu Jin docked his damaged ship at Earth Station Alpha. The workers who unloaded his reduced cargo shook their heads sadly. Another successful raid by aliens. Another reminder of human weakness. But Wu Jin knew the truth. Every successful raid was carefully allowed to happen. Every show of human weakness was deliberate. Every tribute paid was part of a longer plan. Soon, very soon, the hegemony would learn why it was dangerous to mistake patience for weakness. They would learn why it was foolish to confuse mercy with cowardice. They would learn what humanity was really capable of when the mask finally came off. The greatest magic trick in galactic history was almost complete. For 60 years, 12 billion humans had pretended to be 3 billion weaklings barely surviving in space. But magic tricks always end with a revelation, and humanity's revelation would shake the galaxy to its core. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Dr. Insu worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. The room was huge, filled with machines that hummed with strange energy. Charts covered the walls, showing star maps and numbers that would confuse the greatest alien scientists. Dr. Insu was not alone. 200 other scientists worked with him. They all looked similar because they all carried special genes. These genes made them smarter than normal humans. They could think faster and solve problems that seemed impossible. Status report. Dr. Insu called out. Phantom Fleet Alpha is at full power, reported Dr. Kaiyong. All ships are ready for activation. Phantom. Fleet Beta shows green across all systems, added Dr. Suho. The new gravity weapons are working perfectly. Dr. Insu nodded. For 60 years, these scientists had worked in secret. They had built weapons that could destroy stars. They had created ships that could become invisible. They had solved problems in physics that aliens thought were impossible to solve. Above them, the rest of humanity lived normal lives. They had no idea that their greatest minds had been working on humanity's survival since before they were born. Commander Ji-hoon piloted his ship Ghostwalker through the outer solar system. His ship looked empty on all sensors. Even if aliens flew right next to him, they could not see him. The technology that made this possible came from the secret laboratories on Luna. Control, this is Wraith 1. Ji-hoon spoke into his radio. I count 47 hegemony ships gathering near Neptune. Looks like they are planning something big. Copy that, Wraith 1, came the reply from Dr. Insu. Continue monitoring. Do not engage. Ji-hoon smiled grimly. His ship had enough firepower to destroy the entire hegemony fleet by itself. But orders were orders. Humanity was not ready to show its true strength. Not yet. Far away, hidden in Saturn's wire rings, engineer Boyoung worked on machines that contained more energy than some stars. Her space station looked like a small research facility to outside observers. In reality, It was one of humanity's most powerful weapons. Power Core 7 is at maximum capacity, she reported to her team. If we ever need to use Damocles' protocol, we can crack a planet in half. Her assistant, Engineer Do-hyun, looked nervous. Are we really going to use these weapons? Only if they force us to, Bo-young replied. But the hegemony needs to understand that threatening humanity has consequences. The station had been built inside a large asteroid. From outside, it looked like any other space rock. Inside, it contained technology that could end civilizations. Bo-young and her 200 staff members had spent their entire careers preparing for a war they hoped would never come. Admiral Sang-woo sat alone in his office on Luna Base. To the rest of humanity, he was just another military officer trying to protect Earth with inadequate resources. Only 6 people in the entire human race knew his real job. His computer screen showed a message. Shepherd protocol may need activation. Are the sheep ready to see the wolves? Sang-woo typed back, wolves are fed and ready, waiting for final authorization. He closed the message and deleted all traces of it. Then he returned to his public duties, pretending to be worried about humanity's weak defenses. Dr. Insu called a meeting of his senior staff. The laboratory's main conference room had no windows. The walls were made of metal that blocked all forms of scanning or listening devices. The masquerade has been maintained for 60 years, Dr. Insu began. 3 generations of humans believe we are a weak species barely surviving in a hostile galaxy. They do not know that Project Prometheus succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. Dr. Kyung raised her hand. Sir, the psychological stress on our people is getting worse. They feel helpless. Some are talking about surrender. That is exactly what we want the galaxy to think, Dr. Insu replied. If our own people believe we are weak, then our acting is perfect. The hegemony's spies see exactly what we want them to see. Dr. Suho looked uncomfortable. But sir, we are lying to 12 billion people. Our own children do not know the truth about human capabilities. Dr. Insu's face became serious. We are protecting 12 billion people. When the hegemony first arrived, humanity had just learned to travel between stars. We were truly weak. Then, we had 2 choices, fight and die, or bow our heads and prepare. He pointed to a star chart on the wall. We chose to prepare. For 60 years, we have built the most advanced military force in galactic history. We have hidden entire fleets in places no one thinks to look. We have created weapons that make hegemony technology look like stone knives. The room was quiet. Everyone understood the burden they carried. They were humanity's secret guardians, working in shadows to prepare for a day they hoped would never come. Captain Woo Jin received new orders through secure channels. His cargo ship New Seoul would undergo repairs at a hidden facility in the asteroid belt. To outside observers, it would look like routine maintenance on an aging vessel. In reality, his ship was being equipped with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Sir, asked his engineer Corporal Minjae, are we really going to keep pretending to be helpless cargo haulers? For now, Woo Jin replied. But things are changing. The hegemony is getting more aggressive. They may force our hand soon. The hidden facility where they docked looked like an abandoned mining station. Inside, it contained manufacturing systems that could build warships faster than the hegemony could destroy them. Technician Yejin worked on installing quantum torpedo launchers in the cargo holds. Captain, these weapons will let you sink a dreadnought with 1 shot. But using them means no more hiding. Woo Jin nodded. When the time comes, hiding will no longer matter. The galaxy will see what humanity really is. The true human population was not 3 billion struggling colonists spread across a few worlds. It was 12 billion people living in cities that defied detection. Some lived in space stations hidden inside gas giants. Others lived on artificial worlds that looked like asteroids from the outside. Commander Nari commanded the hidden city of New Incheon, built inside Jupiter's atmosphere. 50 million humans lived there, working on projects that would change the galaxy forever. The city had its own fleet of warships, invisible to all outside sensors. Ma'am, reported her aide, Lieutenant Seong-ho, the fabrication yards have completed another squadron of stealth destroyers. We now have enough ships to take on 3 hegemony battle groups simultaneously. Excellent, Nari replied. But remember, we are still officially 3 billion weak colonists scratching out a living on dead worlds. That story must be maintained until the order comes to drop the mask. Dr. Insu looked at reports from across human space. Every hidden facility was ready. Every secret fleet was armed and waiting. Every concealed weapon system was powered up and targeted at hegemony assets. Project Prometheus had taken 60 years to complete. It represented the greatest deception in galactic history. An entire species had pretended to be primitive while becoming the most advanced civilization known. But deceptions always end eventually. The hegemony was about to make a mistake that would force humanity to reveal the truth. Their arrogance would be their downfall. They thought humans were weak and helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In hidden bases across the solar system, alarms began to sound. Long-range sensors detected massive hegemony fleet movements toward Earth. The aliens were no longer content with tribute. They wanted conquest. Dr. Insu received the final intelligence report. Sir, they are bringing 50 dreadnoughts and support fleets. They intend to occupy Earth directly. He nodded slowly. Then the masquerade ends today. Send the activation codes to all Phantom assets. Alert Admiral Sang-woo that Shepard Protocol is now in effect. For 60 years, humanity had been the galaxy's favorite victim. Weak, helpless, easy to abuse. That was about to change forever. The sheep were about to reveal they had always been wolves. The hegemony supremacy fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 massive dreadnoughts led the formation, each one the size of a small city. Behind them came hundreds of support ships, cruisers, destroyers, troop, transports, and carrier vessels. Admiral Korthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Domination. He was a tall, scaled alien with red eyes that glowed in the dark. His species had conquered dozens of worlds. Humans would be just another. Easy victory. Communications, he barked. Open a channel to the human homeworld. The message that reached Earth was harsh and final. Primitive humans, you have served your purpose as tribute payers. The hegemony now requires direct control of your worlds. You will provide 100,000 of your species for immediate conscription into our labor forces. You have 6 hours to comply, or we will demonstrate what happens to those who refuse the hegemony's generosity. In the Earth Defense Center, alarms blared. Lieutenant Hana watched her screens fill with red warning signals. 50 dreadnoughts. Each one carried enough firepower to burn continents. Sir, she reported to Admiral Sang-woo, they are not asking for tribute this time. They want total surrender. Admiral Sang-woo's face remained calm, but inside he felt a cold anger. For 60 years, humanity had endured insults, raids, and theft. They had watched their people taken as slaves. They had pretended to be weak while the hegemony grew more arrogant. Now the aliens wanted to conquer Earth itself. Alert all human vessels, Admiral Sang-woo ordered. We will not surrender our homeworld. If they want to fight, we will give them one. Captain Dong-yun commanded the battlecruiser Incheon, flagship of humanity's visible fleet. His ship was old but well-maintained. Around him, 46 other human vessels formed up for battle. They knew they could not win, but they would not surrender without a fight. All ships, this is Captain Dong-yun, he broadcast. Today we prove that humans do not bow to tyrants. If we must die, we die with honor. The human fleet moved toward the approaching hegemony armada. It looked like a group of children challenging an army of giants. Every alien ship was larger and more powerful than anything humans possessed, or so it appeared. Captain Dong-yun made one final transmission on an emergency frequency. To most listeners, it sounded like a desperate plea for help, but the actual message was in code. All human vessels, broadcast on emergency channel 77 Alpha. Tell them we did not go quietly. That coded phrase reached hidden receivers across the solar system. Commander Ji-hoon, still invisible in his stealth ship Ghostwalker, smiled when he heard the code words. Control, the sheep are requesting shepherd intervention. The wolves have shown their teeth. Received, Wraith 1, came Dr. Insu's voice. Begin Prometheus awakening. Signal all phantom assets. 60 years of pretending to be helpless ends. Today. Deep beneath Luna's surface, Dr. Insu turned to his assembled team. Gentlemen and ladies, the masquerade is over. Activate all hidden systems. Wake up the real fleet. Across the solar system, installations that had pretended to be dead asteroids began to hum with power. Ships that had waited decades in dark orbit started their engines. Weapons platforms disguised as space debris shed their camouflage. Engineer, Boyoung's hand hovered over the master activation switch in her hidden Saturn station. Around her, massive reactors that could power entire planets reached full capacity. Sir, all Damocles assets are powered and ready, she reported. We can have the first wave operational in 90 minutes. Do it, came Admiral Sangwoo's voice. Release the hounds. The hegemony fleet moved slowly toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Admiral Korthak watched the pathetic human defense fleet approaching. 47 small ships against his mighty armada. This is almost sad, he told his officers. They are so weak they do not even know they are weak. His tactical officer looked puzzled. Sir, I am detecting some strange energy readings from various parts of the system, but our sensors show nothing there. Sensor ghosts, Admiral Korthak. Dismissed. These humans probably have some mining equipment we are picking up. Ignore it. The first human ship to engage was the destroyer Busan. Captain Minho fired everything he had at a hegemony cruiser. His missiles exploded harmlessly against alien shields. His laser beams barely scratched their armor. The hegemony cruiser returned fire casually. One energy blast crippled the Busan, leaving it drifting in space. See? Admiral Korthak laughed. Humans are no threat at all. But his laughter stopped when his sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. Sir, massive energy signatures throughout. The system. Something is... Sir, there are ships appearing everywhere. Admiral Korthak spun toward the tactical display. His confident expression changed to confusion, then to fear. In the asteroid belt, shapes that defied imagination were emerging from what had looked like empty space. Ships longer than his dreadnoughts, wider than space stations, more numerous than his entire fleet. Sir, his communications officer stammered, we are receiving a transmission from something calling itself the Terra Invicta fleet. Put it on screen, Admiral Korthak ordered. The face that appeared was human, but not like any human he had ever seen. Admiral Seokjin wore a uniform that seemed to be made of liquid metal. His eyes held the cold fire of someone who had waited a very long time for this moment. Hegemony Fleet, this is Fleet Admiral Seokjin of the Terra Invicta, commanding the First Phantom Fleet. You are ordered to stand down immediately and withdraw from human space. Admiral Korthak found his voice. Impossible! Humans have no such ships. Our intelligence confirmed you are primitives. Admiral Seokjin's smile was not pleasant. Your intelligence was carefully managed. For 60 years we have allowed you to see exactly what we wanted you to see. You saw weak cargo ships and outdated patrol vessels. You never saw our real fleet. On the tactical display, more ships were appearing every second. Not dozens, but hundreds. Each one massive beyond belief, armed with weapons that made hegemony technology look like Stone Age tools. This is a trick, Admiral Korthak shouted. Some kind of illusion. His answer came in the form of a demonstration. One of the human ships fired a single beam at a hegemony destroyer. The alien vessel simply stopped existing, not destroyed, not vaporized. It ceased to be there, as if it had never existed at all. That was our mercy setting, Admiral Seokjin said calmly. Withdraw now or discover what our weapons do when we are not being merciful. Admiral Korthak looked at his tactical display in growing horror. His 50 dreadnoughts were now surrounded by hundreds of human vessels, each one larger and more advanced than anything in his fleet. Ships that had been hiding in plain sight for decades were revealing themselves all across the system. How? He whispered. How is this possible? We learned from our first contact with the hegemony, Admiral Seokjin replied. We learned that in this galaxy, Showing strength invites immediate attack, so we chose to appear weak while we prepared. Every raid on our cargo ships was allowed to succeed. Every demand for tribute was carefully calculated to maintain the illusion. Every insult and humiliation served our greater purpose. Another human ship fired, and another hegemony vessel vanished from existence. Then another, and another. "Stop," Admiral Korthak begged. "We surrender, we withdraw." "Too late," Admiral Seokjin said coldly. "You came here to conquer our homeworld. You came here to enslave our people. The time for mercy ended when you entered our system with hostile intent." Captain Dongyun, watching from his damaged battlecruiser, could hardly believe what he was seeing. The human fleet that was revealing itself around him was beyond anything he could have imagined. Ships that could have been cities, weapons that rewrote the laws of physics, technology that made the hegemony look like children playing with toys. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we are receiving orders from Admiral Seokjin. All visible fleet vessels are to withdraw to safe distance. The Phantom Fleet will handle the engagement." As the old human ships pulled back, the new, human fleet moved forward. The Battle of Earth was about to begin, but it would not be the slaughter the hegemony had expected. It would be a demonstration of what happened when you awakened sleeping giants. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was not their courage or their determination. It was their patience and their ability to plan centuries ahead while their enemies saw only the present moment. Admiral Korthak's last transmission before his communications were cut was a desperate message to Hegemony Command. "Emergency. The Yao. Humans. They are not what we thought. They are not primitive. They have been lying to us for 60 years. Send reinforcements. Send everything." But it was too late for reinforcements. The masquerade was over. The real war was about to begin. Commander Taehyun emerged from the asteroid belt aboard the dreadnought Soul's Fury. His ship was 3 times longer than the largest hegemony vessel and twice as wide. Behind him came 24 identical behemoths, their hulls gleaming with unknown metals that seemed to bend light around them. "Hegemony Fleet," Commander Taehyun broadcast, "you are ordered to stand down and withdraw from human space immediately. This is your final warning." Admiral Korthak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The ships appearing around his fleet were impossible. Nothing that large should be able to move through space. Nothing that advanced should exist in this galaxy. "Sir," his sensor officer reported in a shaking voice, "I am reading massive signatures throughout the entire system. Ships are decloaking everywhere. Some of them are—" "Sir, these power readings cannot be correct." "Show me," Admiral Korthak demanded. The main screen displayed the solar system from above. Red dots marked hegemony positions. Blue dots showed human vessels. There were thousands of blue dots and more were appearing every second. "Impossible," Admiral Korthak whispered. "Where did they come from?" Captain Jiyeon commanded the battleship Busan Lightning, part of what humans called the Second Hidden Fleet. As her 24 vessels shimmered into visibility around Jupiter, she opened fire with weapons that defied every known law of physics. The Yar first shot hit a hegemony cruiser. The alien vessel's shields, designed to withstand planet-cracking bombardments, simply vanished. The ship's armor, strong enough to resist nuclear weapons, melted like ice in sunlight. In 3 seconds, a mighty warship became expanding gas and debris. "What kind of weapons are those?" Admiral Korthak screamed at his science officer. I do not know, sir. Our sensors cannot identify the energy type. It appears to manipulate matter at the quantum level." Dr. Insu observed the battle from his command center beneath Luna's surface. Around him, screens showed human fleets revealing themselves across the solar system. Project Prometheus was finally bearing fruit. "The masquerade took 60 years to prepare," he said to his assembled scientists. "We studied every piece of hegemony technology that came through our space. We analyzed their tactics, their strategies, their weaknesses. We built our entire military doctrine around defeating them specifically." Dr. Kyung looked at her tactical displays with satisfaction. "Sir, our psychological warfare division's predictions were perfect. The hegemony believed their own propaganda about human weakness. They never considered that we might be acting. Of course not, Dr. Insu replied. Arrogant species never imagine that their victims might be more intelligent than they are. Engineer Boyong's station transformed from a research facility into the command nexus for Project Damocles. The asteroid that housed her base split open like a flower, revealing weapons platforms that could crack moons in half. All Damocles, assets online, Admiral, she reported to Fleet Admiral Seokjin. We have firing solutions on every hegemony world within 50 light-years. If any of them try to send reinforcements, we can sterilize their launching points. Excellent, came the reply. Maintain targeting locks but hold fire. Today we demonstrate power, not genocide. The battle around Earth was magnificently one-sided. Hegemony dreadnoughts, each one the pride of their fleet, were carved apart by human weapons that seemed to ignore the basic rules of reality. Captain Chaeyoung's cruiser, New Daegu, fired projectiles that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. They passed through hegemony shields as if the shields were not there, then exploded inside enemy ships with perfect precision. Commander Johan led fighter squadrons in craft that could phase through solid matter. His pilots flew directly through enemy vessels, planting charges that detonated with the force of small stars. All wings, Commander Johan broadcast, demonstrate proper doctrine. Target military systems only. We want prisoners who can spread word of today's events. Admiral Korthak watched his mighty armada being systematically destroyed by weapons he could not understand. Ships that had conquered worlds were being torn apart like paper toys. Sir, his communications officer called out desperately. The humans are jamming our hyperspace communications. We cannot call for help. Then we fight, Admiral Korthak snarled. All ships, target the largest human vessel. Concentrate all fire. Every remaining hegemony ship turned their weapons on Commander Taehyun's dreadnought Soul's Fury. Thousands of energy beams and missiles struck the human ship simultaneously. The human vessel's shields absorbed every shot without effort. The bombardment that could have destroyed a moon barely made the shield generators flicker. Our turn, Commander Taehyun said calmly. All weapons, minimum power. We want to leave some survivors. The Soul's Fury returned fire with a single weapon. The beam that emerged was not bright or flashy. It looked almost gentle as it touched each hegemony ship in turn. Every vessel it touched simply stopped working. Their engines died. Their weapons powered down. Their life support systems switched to emergency backup. In 30 seconds, the entire hegemony fleet was drifting helplessly in space. What did you do to us? Admiral Korthak demanded over the radio. Quantum disruption field, Commander Taehyun replied. Your ship's molecular bonds are temporarily destabilized. Try to fire a weapon or restart your engines and your vessels will fall apart at the atomic level. Captain Woo Jin, now commanding the assault carrier New Busan, launched his fighter squadrons. But these were not the primitive craft the hegemony expected. His fighters could become invisible, intangible, and move faster than light over short distances. All squadrons, Captain Woo Jin ordered. Secure the enemy command ships. Bring their officers aboard for interrogation. Use non-lethal force only. His pilots flew through the hulls of hegemony ships as if the metal did not exist. They materialized inside enemy bridges, stunned the crews with weapons that induced temporary paralysis, and transported key personnel back to human vessels. Within an hour, every hegemony commander was in human custody. Admiral Korthak found himself in a holding cell aboard the Soul's Fury. The room was comfortable but clearly a prison. The walls showed images of Earth, Mars, and other human worlds he had planned to conquer. Commander Taehyun visited him personally. I apologize for the accommodations. We do not usually take prisoners on this scale. This is impossible, Admiral, Korthak said for the 100th time. Humans are primitives. Our intelligence confirmed it. Your intelligence saw what we wanted it to see, Commander Taehyun replied patiently. For 60 years we maintained an elaborate deception. We showed you cargo ships and patrol vessels while hiding our real fleet. We acted weak while building weapons that make your technology look primitive. But why? Why the deception? Commander. Taehyun sat down across from his prisoner. Because we studied galactic history. Every time a new species develops advanced technology, the established powers attack immediately. They cannot allow competition, so we chose to appear non-threatening while we prepared. Admiral Korthak's mind reeled. The tribute payments, the raids on your ships, the slaves you gave us, all carefully calculated to maintain the illusion. Every raid we allowed to succeed taught us more about your technology. Every tribute payment bought us more time to prepare. Every person you took as a slave was a volunteer who spied on your facilities. The full scope of humanity's deception began to dawn on Admiral Korthak. For 60 years, the hegemony had been manipulated by a species they thought was helpless. "How many ships do you really have?" he asked quietly. "Enough," Commander Taehyun replied. "You brought 50 dreadnoughts to conquer humanity. We have revealed less than 1% of our actual fleet strength." Admiral Korthak felt his legs give out. "If this was less than 1%, what do you want from us?" he whispered. "Initially, we wanted to be left alone. We would have been content to pay tribute forever if you had been satisfied with that arrangement, but you grew greedy. You decided to conquer our homeworld and enslave our people. That forced us to reveal ourselves." Commander Taehyun stood to leave. "Your fleet will be escorted to the edge of the system and released. You will carry a message back to your hegemony council. Humanity is no longer hiding. We are no longer pretending to be weak. Any species that threatens human space will face the consequences." As he reached the door, Admiral Korthak called out desperately, "What consequences?" Commander Taehyun paused. "You have seen our minimum response to invasion. You have not seen what we do to species that commit genocide." The door closed, leaving Admiral Korthak alone with his thoughts. Outside, the greatest deception in galactic history was finally over. Humanity had revealed itself as the most advanced civilization in known space. The question now was what they would do with that power. The galaxy was about to find out. News of the battle was already spreading through hyperspace. Within hours, every major power would know that the primitive humans had been hiding capabilities that dwarfed their own. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human strength had begun. News of the hegemony fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On hegemony worlds, panic spread as reports poured in through emergency channels. The species everyone had dismissed as barely spacefaring now commanded technology that made their greatest achievements look like children's toys. Admiral Korthak's surviving ships limped back to hegemony space, carrying impossible news. The recordings they brought showed human vessels that defied physics, weapons that ignored known science, and a fleet size that dwarfed anything in galactic history. On the capital world of Dominax, Chancellor Vorth called an emergency session of the Hegemony Council. The great crystal chamber filled with panicked alien officials as the battle recordings played on massive screens. "This cannot be real," General Krex protested. "Our intelligence networks confirmed that humans had fewer than 50 ships total. Your intelligence networks were fed lies for 60 years, Chancellor Vorth replied grimly. "We have been manipulated by a species we thought was primitive." Fleet Admiral Seokjin stood on the bridge of the Terra Invicta, humanity's new flagship. The ship was so large it had its own internal gravity generators. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of every hegemony military base within 100 light-years. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. "All Phantom fleets are authorized to commence liberation operations." Admiral Johann's first strike fleet appeared in the Kepler 438 system without warning. The hegemony military base there housed 50,000 human slaves taken over the past decade. The base commander's urgent transmission to his superiors was cut short when his communications array simply stopped existing. "Hegemony forces," Admiral Johann broadcast. "You have 30 minutes to evacuate all non-essential personnel. This facility will be liberated." The base commander, General Vexmore, looked at his tactical displays in horror. 24 human dreadnoughts surrounded his fortified world. Each one was larger than his entire defensive fleet. "Sir," his aide reported, "they are broadcasting on all civilian frequencies. They are telling our people that any alien who harms human prisoners will be held personally accountable. General Vexmore had served in the hegemony military for 40 years. He had conquered 12 worlds and crushed dozens of rebellions, but he had never faced an enemy like this. "Evacuate the facility," he ordered. "Release all human prisoners immediately." "Sir?" His aide looked confused. "We cannot simply surrender a strategic base." "Look at your screens," General Vexmore snapped. "Those ships could turn this entire world into cosmic dust. We surrender because the alternative is extinction." Commander Jihoon, no longer hiding, in his stealth ship, led the boarding operations. His troops wore armor that made them immune to conventional weapons. They moved through the prison facility like ghosts, appearing wherever human slaves needed protection. "All prisoners secured," he reported. The hegemony forces offered no resistance. They seemed to understand the situation. Similar scenes played out across dozens of star systems. Wherever the hegemony had taken human slaves, human fleets appeared to liberate them. The operations were swift, efficient, and absolutely overwhelming. Captain Chae-young's interdiction squadron patrolled the hyperspace routes between hegemony worlds. Her ships could detect vessels entering faster than light travel from incredible distances. Any ship carrying weapons or military supplies toward human space was stopped and boarded. "Hegemony merchant vessel Prophet's Edge," she broadcast. "Cut your engines and prepare for inspection." The alien cargo ship's captain complied immediately. Everyone in the galaxy had heard what happened to ships that resisted human forces. "We don't carry only food and medical supplies," the captain reported nervously. "No weapons. No military equipment." "Confirmed," Captain Chae-young's boarding officer reported after scanning the ship. "Captain, they are carrying medicine to a hegemony colony that recently suffered a plague outbreak." "Allow them to continue," Captain Chae-young ordered. "But broadcast a message to their destination. Tell them that humanity does not war against civilians. We fight only those who threaten innocence." The hegemony's desperate attempt to rally their scattered fleets met disaster at every turn. Fleet Admiral Korthax gathered 200 ships at the fortress world of Nexus 7, planning to make a stand against human expansion. His confidence lasted exactly 12 minutes after human forces arrived. Captain Hyunwoo commanded the siege platform, Gangwon's Hammer, a mobile fortress designed to crack planets. As hegemony ships opened fire on his vessel, their weapons had no more effect than throwing rocks at a mountain. "All hegemony forces," Captain Hyunwoo broadcast calmly. "You are outmatched by several orders of magnitude. Surrender now and your crews will be treated with dignity." Fleet Admiral Korthax's response was to order his entire fleet to ram the human vessel. 200 ships accelerated toward the Gangwon's Hammer at maximum speed. Captain Hyunwoo activated his ship's defensive field. The first hegemony ship to hit it simply bounced off as if it had struck an invisible wall. The impact knocked the alien crew unconscious, but left their ship intact. "Capture them all," Captain Hyunwoo ordered. "Use tractor beams to stop their approach. Minimum force only." Within an hour, 200 hegemony vessels were trapped in energy fields, their crews stunned but alive. Fleet Admiral Korthax found himself aboard a human ship, facing interrogation by beings he had thought were primitives. "Why do you not kill us?" he asked Captain Hyunwoo. "We came here to destroy you." "Because we are not you," Captain Hyunwoo replied. "We fight to protect, not to conquer. Your people will be returned to hegemony space with a message: surrender completely or face the consequences of continued resistance." Dr. Insu coordinated the revelation from his lunar command center, carefully managing which human technologies to reveal and which to keep hidden. He ensured that the galaxy saw enough to understand resistance was futile, but not enough to understand humanity's full capabilities. "The psychological impact is perfect," he reported to Fleet Admiral Seokjin. "Hegemony forces are surrendering without battle. Their subject species are declaring independence. The entire power structure is collapsing." "Good," came the reply. "But maintain readiness for escalation. Desperate enemies make dangerous choices." The Hegemony Council's emergency session descended into chaos as reports poured in from across their territory. Fleet after fleet was being captured or destroyed. Base after base was being liberated. Their entire military structure was crumbling in the face of human technological superiority. We must negotiate, Counselor Yextar argued. These humans have power beyond our comprehension. Fighting them is suicide. Negotiate? General Krex snarled. They are primitives. This must be some kind of trick. Chancellor Vorth silenced the argument with a gesture. Our scouts have confirmed it. Humanity has been hiding advanced technology for decades. They allowed us to abuse them while they prepared for war. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. How many of our subject species were secretly working with the humans? Counselor Zephmon asked quietly. We are investigating, General Krex replied. But preliminary reports suggest many of them. The greatest humiliation was yet to come. Intelligence reports revealed that hundreds of species had been secretly communicating with humanity for years. The primitive humans had been building a coalition of oppressed peoples, while the hegemony thought they were collecting tribute. Captain Wu Jin, commanding the Liberation Fleet, received surrender offers from 12 hegemony worlds in a single day. The alien governments begged for mercy, promising to release all human prisoners and pay reparations. Tell them, Captain Wu Jin instructed his communications officer, that humanity accepts their surrender, but warn them that any species found guilty of war crimes will face justice. Commander Nari emerged from her hidden city inside Jupiter to take command of the 4th Phantom Fleet. Her 50 million-person city was now revealed as one of dozens of hidden human settlements. The galaxy discovered that humanity's population was not 3 billion, but over 12 billion. Sir, her aide Lieutenant Sung-ho reported, we have confirmation that 37 species have declared independence from the hegemony. They are requesting human protection. Grant it, Commander Nari ordered. Deploy protection fleets to their homeworlds. Any hegemony forces that attempt retaliation will face immediate intervention. The hunt was systematic and relentless. Every hegemony military asset was being tracked and neutralized. Every war criminal was being identified and marked for capture. Every oppressed species was being offered freedom under human protection. Fleet Admiral Seok Jin reviewed the strategic situation from his flagship. In less than a week, humanity had gone from appearing helpless to controlling half the galaxy's military assets. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we have located the hegemony's ultimate weapon project. They have been building planet-killer devices in the Vega system. Send the 7th Fleet, Fleet Admiral Seokjin ordered. Capture the weapons, but do not destroy them. They will serve as evidence when we put their leaders on trial. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity revealed capability after capability. Ships that could become invisible. Weapons that manipulated gravity itself. Manufacturing systems that could build fleets faster than they could be destroyed. But perhaps the most terrifying discovery was humanity's restraint. Despite pause 3 months after the Battle of Earth, Fleet Admiral Seokjin stood on the bridge of the Super Dreadnought Unified Korea as it orbited the former hegemony capital world of Dominax. The surrender ceremony was being broadcast across the galaxy, reaching billions of beings who had lived under hegemony rule for generations. The ship itself was a marvel that defied comprehension, large enough to house a city, armed with weapons that could reshape star systems, powered by technology that seemed like magic to most galactic civilizations. Yet it was only one of hundreds of similar vessels in humanity's revealed fleet. Chancellor Vorth, wearing prisoner restraints that were more advanced than most species' best technology, stood before the human admiral. His forearms shook as he held the surrender documents. Around him, the surviving members of the Hegemony Council waited in defeat. Read the terms aloud, Fleet Admiral Seokjin ordered. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of absolute authority. Chancellor, Vorth's voice cracked as he began. The hegemony hereby surrenders unconditionally to the human species and their allies. All military forces will be disbanded. All oppressed species will be granted immediate independence. All human prisoners will be released and provided with medical care and transportation home. Captain Minhyuk, serving as humanity's chief legal officer, continued reading the detailed terms. War reparations will be paid over 50 years to all species harmed by hegemony actions. Former hegemony territory will be administered by the new Galactic Confederation under human oversight. Any individual found guilty of war crimes will face trial by interspecies tribunal. The ceremony was being watched on thousands of worlds. Species that had been enslaved for centuries saw their oppressors reduced to defeated prisoners. Children who had never known freedom watched aliens who had seemed all-powerful beg for mercy from humans they had thought were primitives. Admiral Hana, promoted from her position as a lieutenant, monitoring Earth's pathetic defenses, now commanded the Liberation Fleet spreading across former hegemony space. Her ships worked with devastating efficiency, freeing slaves, dismantling weapons of oppression, and establishing humanitarian aid stations. "Sir," her aide reported, "the last hegemony prison camp has been liberated. We have freed over 2 million beings of various species, including 50,000 humans." "Excellent," Admiral Hana replied. "Ensure they all receive medical treatment and counseling. Many of them will need time to recover from their ordeal." The rescued humans were a revelation in themselves. Many had been taken as children and raised in captivity. They spoke alien languages fluently and understood hegemony technology. But they had never forgotten they were human. "I always knew," said Corporal Jisoo, liberated after 15 years in a labor camp, "that humanity would come for us eventually. We told each other stories about Earth, about how our people would never abandon us." Engineer Boyoung, no longer hidden in her secret facility, now openly commanded Project Damocles. The network of weapons platforms that could sterilize star systems had been revealed as humanity's ultimate deterrent. "All Damocles platforms are being reconfigured," she reported to the Galactic Confederation Council. "Instead of weapons of destruction, they will become stations for peaceful research and exploration." The transformation was symbolic of humanity's approach to their new power. Weapons designed for war were being converted to tools of peace. Military technologies were being adapted for humanitarian purposes. Dr. Insu, the architect of the 60-year Seo masquerade, now served as humanity's chief diplomat. His first address to the newly formed Galactic Confederation was broadcast to every world with communications technology. "For 6 decades, humanity pretended to be weak while we prepared to defend ourselves and others," he explained to the assembled alien representatives. "We could have revealed our strength at any time. We could have conquered the galaxy decades ago. We chose not to because conquest was never our goal." The alien diplomats listened in stunned silence. They were still adjusting to the reality that the species they had dismissed was now the most powerful force in known space. "What do you want from us?" asked Ambassador Yextil of the Altarian Republic. "Nothing," Dr. Insu replied simply. "We want nothing from you except that you live in peace. We will protect any species that chooses freedom over oppression. We will defend any world that faces extinction. We will stand guard over the innocent." Captain Wu Jin, now commanding the peacekeeping fleet, met with representatives of dozens of species formerly oppressed by the hegemony. His ships patrolled trade routes that had been terrorized by pirates for centuries, ensuring that cargo vessels could travel safely. "The human fleet guarantees free passage to all peaceful vessels," he announced at the trade conference on New Geneva Station. "Any ship engaged in legitimate commerce will be protected. Pirates and slavers will be eliminated." The economic impact was immediate and dramatic. Trade routes that had been dangerous for generations became safe highways. Species that had been isolated by fear of hegemony, retaliation began communicating and trading with each other. Commander Nari, whose hidden city of 50 million had been revealed as one of dozens of secret human settlements, now oversaw the integration of human technology into galactic civilization. "We will share our medical advances freely," she announced to the Galactic Health Council. "Diseases that have plagued your species for millennia can be cured with human biotechnology." The revelation of humanity's true population had shaken the galaxy to its core. 12 billion humans living in cities that defied detection, on worlds that appeared uninhabited, in space stations disguised as asteroids. The masquerade had been complete and perfect. Fleet Admiral Seokjin addressed the concerns of nervous, alien governments. We understand your fear. You have learned that a species you thought was helpless has been more advanced than all of you combined. But observe our actions, not just our capabilities. We could have conquered you all decades ago. Instead, we chose to live quietly and protect ourselves. The trials of hegemony war criminals became a watershed moment for galactic justice. For the first time in history, beings who had committed genocide faced consequences for their actions. Judge, Advocate Captain Hyunwoo presided over the tribunals. These proceedings are not about revenge, he explained to the assembled court. They are about establishing that might does not make right, that superior technology does not grant the right to oppress others. Chancellor Vorth himself faced charges for the deaths of billions of beings across dozens of species. His defense was simple. We were the dominant power. It was our right to rule. No being has the right to murder children, Captain Hyunwoo replied. No species has the right to commit genocide. Power without moral limits is not civilization. It is barbarism. The sentences were firm but not vindictive. War criminals faced life imprisonment on comfortable but secure worlds. Their basic needs would be met, but they would never again be free to harm others. Commander Ji-hoon, whose stealth operations had protected human interests for decades, now led the integration teams helping former slave species rebuild their societies. Freedom is not just the absence of chains, he explained to a gathering of newly liberated beings. It is the presence of opportunity. We will help you build schools, hospitals, and industries, but your worlds will remain yours to govern. The most touching moment of the transition came when the first group of human children born in the hidden cities visited Earth openly. These children had been raised knowing humanity's true capabilities, but they had never seen their species' homeworld. Lieutenant Sung-ho, himself born in the hidden city inside Jupiter, walked on Earth's surface for the first time in his life. It is beautiful, he said simply. I understand now why our ancestors chose to protect this world rather than abandon it. The galaxy's response to human revelation varied widely. Some species offered immediate alliance. Others retreated into isolation, afraid of beings who could destroy them effortlessly but chose not to. The Zephyrian ambassador Telvak spoke for many when he addressed the human leadership. We have learned that you could have destroyed us all, at any time over the past 60 years. The fact that you did not makes you more trustworthy than any species we have ever encountered. Fleet Admiral Seokjin's final address to the galaxy was broadcast from Earth itself, showing the blue world that had been humanity's secret heart throughout their long masquerade. We return to our home not as conquerors, but as guardians who have completed their watch, he said. The galaxy is now protected by those who choose protection over domination. Any species that threatens the innocent will face humanity's wrath. Any species that chooses peace will find us the most reliable of friends. As the broadcast ended, the massive human fleets began their journey back to the outer rim, not in retreat, but in the confidence that their mere existence would prevent future genocides. Captain Dongyun, whose desperate last stand with humanity's pathetic fleet had begun the revelation, now commanded one of the new peacekeeping stations. We showed them our courage first, he reflected. That made our strength more meaningful. The final scene showed Dr. Insu decommissioning the last of the masquerade protocols. Banks of computers that had maintained false ID